Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. Happy St. Patrick's Day, y'all.
Woo! Yay!
That was a bizarre transition that we just put in there because we were talking about all sorts of weird stuff. I don't know if any of it's good enough to make the TikTok later, but we'll see. Yes. I am Dub, and I am your host, I guess. I do stuff. And with me today is we have Michelle. Oops, there's Michelle. We have Miss Geeky Page. We have Tyler and Todd and Miss Cheeky Chi herself, Christina. How y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Awake.
Quite well.
Barely awake.
I am so excited for this episode. We are talking about one of my top 10 movies of all time, which is Boondock Saints, which is kind of fitting for a St. Patrick's Day episode, you think?
Yes.
So let's
Sure and Begora.
Shore and Begora. That's an interesting one. Okay, so I have a commercial. This episode is brought to you by Cat Name Tags. Never forget your cat's name again when you really need to know it. Oh.
Does it come with Band-Aids for application?
Now,
I think that cat's gonna need more than a band-aid.
Yeah.
if y'all are ever planning on watching Boondock Saints, turn this off now and go watch it. If you're never planning on watching it, you'll get about half the jokes, I think, because this is, yeah.
It's one of those movies.
This movie was an absolute flop in the theaters, and then it found this huge cult following in the aftermarket scene, I guess. Where did y'all find this movie? Let's start with you, Miss Geeky Page.
I was visiting a college roommate in the Bay Area, and we were going to a party with some of her friends in Alameda, and we sat down. They're like, "You guys have to watch this movie. It's so cool." So we sat down to watch Boondock Saints. I'd never heard of it. Didn't even know. I was like, I think that's the dude from Powder.
Nobody
no
knew that
clue.
either.
Right. I had no clue. And I sat down and I watched it. And I'm like, this movie is awesome. I think it was like 20 years old, 22 years old, something like that. Some young sprout. And it was just the coolest thing. And loved it ever since. Made my mom watch it.
Ooh. Tyler?
How'd Mom dig it?
She loved it.
Oh, her mom's cool.
My
I
mom was
found
right.
out about it when I visited Walker Stalker Con, and I saw Norman Reedus there signing autographs.
Oh,
He had a
really?
big Boondock Saints poster behind him. What is this? And looked into it, and yeah, once I checked it out, I realized that it's definitely a movie that needs to be added to my collection.
Oh, yeah. It's a zombie movie without zombies.
Right?
So there is some fact to that, and we'll get back to that, I guess. What about you, Mr. The Voice of the Show?
Well, of course, Boondocks came out in 99. And excuse me, I was very busy being married and a new father, so I didn't actually see it until about 2005.
Mhm.
Can't remember if it was VHS or DVD, but the wife had no interest in it. My kid was, very small, so no interest there. And so I just sat up late one night and watched it, and I was just riveted. I mean, I didn't even get up to get munchies or go to the bathroom or anything. It was just locked on. And so, yeah, about 2005. But yeah, it's maintained its status as a favorite ever since then.
Oh, yeah. To say there's a lot to this movie is an understatement.
It's got layers.
It's got layers. Miss Cheeky Chi, what about you? Where'd you find this one?
Well, I was at a barbecue at a friend's house, and we were talking about heritage.
Mhm.
And I said I was French, Indian, and Irish. And this guy was like, "Oh, you've got to watch this movie." And I sat down and I watched this movie with Mr. One Dub McGowan.
Yeah, I have a habit of introducing people to this movie because it's so good.
And it was brilliant, and we loved every moment of it.
So now we don't have to ask Wendell when he saw it first.
That wasn't the first time I saw it. No. Michelle?
I think it was an ex who introduced me to it.
Well, you got one good thing out of that relationship then.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
And I think at the time, and I'm probably alone here, but I think at the time I liked it more than I probably do now. But I think it definitely had its place. Um yeah, so I mean I liked it. It
Yeah.
was cool. But it's funny to associate it with that. Like that's where I found it from, but I won't hold it against it.
Well, what I notice is this is one of those movies nobody heard about through advertising or anything else. This is a completely word of mouth movie, and I know very few people personally that haven't seen it.
Well, to be fair too, when it came out, I mean it was kind of a bad time for it to come out because Columbine had just happened the year before.
Yeah.
So I think people were kind of like about the content of it. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody I've talked to that's into the movie or has watched the movie after that, that's how they came about it. It was a DVD or somebody had it that they, that they showed them. Like, I don't think I've met anyone who actually went and saw it in the theater.
No, I
It was all
don't.
word of mouth.
I think you're right. I don't think I've met anybody who has either.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys, though, there's the subject content of the movie, very controversial because of the religious aspect of it.
Not just the religious aspect.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
To have two guys who are that Catholic be bang bang killers, you're bumping the Catholic Church on this one, so that's why there probably wasn't much of an ad budget for
Like
it.
Dogma.
Yeah, the church was not happy about it at all.
No, there was a lot of people that weren't happy about it, but we'll get back to that in a minute. But let's discuss why it became such a cult classic, which I think is funny because every one of us heard about this movie through somebody else. I would almost bet that everybody in this room has told somebody else about this movie. This movie, you evangelize this movie, and it's one of those, you tell people about it constantly. And I don't know, is that what makes it such a cult classic? Now, this movie, I would not watch this in the theaters because I feel like it is not made for the big screen at all. I went back, I watched this in Blu-ray because that's what I like to do, and the effects do not stand up. The tattoos do not stand up. There's a lot of mistakes that, more analog DVD stuff you can get away with, you can't get away with. And I think that's definitely would be a hindrance to watching some of these on the big screen. Would you guys want to watch this on the big screen?
Heck yeah.
Yeah?
Not for today's prices.
For the boom boom.
We're all cheap.
I have a 79-inch TV, so it's sort of a big screen. Sort of.
Ooh.
With sound effects.
Does everybody feel like it's held up as well as it could have? Let's get away with the picture stuff, but the story itself, has it held up?
I think
not for me.
Not for you?
No, not for me.
Actually,
but I think I already went into that.
Okay. I think it has.
Actually, I think it has just because of the acting job in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the brothers, that's not a hard part to portray on film, but Willem Dafoe, what a masterful job he did.
Yeah.
And such a strange part for him to fill, but he just killed it. That made the movie for me.
In terms of that too, it's like, because this is such a word of mouth film, it's almost like there are people out there who haven't seen it who are missing out on what I would consider one of Willem Dafoe's greatest performances because they haven't seen this movie.
100%.
I mean, he's so
Absolutely.
good in just everything he does. Like, I'm a huge Willem Dafoe fangirl, but like, this has got to be one of his most tour de force parts. And it's like, you got to watch it just for Willem Dafoe, if anything at all.
I think that's my favorite part of this movie is him.
His character is so extravagant, but he's also so intelligent.
Yeah.
He just has fun. Character. And that makes such a difference. Like, you can tell how much fun he's having. And I read an article where he just said it was just a kick. Like, and you can see that it really comes across.
Yeah.
And the delivery of some of the lines, like, maybe I'll be wanting a bagel with my coffee. I mean, it's just, it's really good delivery.
and the subtlety on it, I mean, yes, he played a very gay character, but with me personally, I didn't even pick up on it until he has the scene with the dude in bed. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I can see that. Because, yeah, it's the subtlety I thought was very well
he
done.
keeps the fabulousness under wraps until about halfway through.
But it's still always there.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
he wasn't just a stereotype on it. It was very nuanced.
I definitely wasn't the stereotype.
But you pick up greatly on how conflicted he is, how his character is very conflicted, not only with his sexuality, but he's conflicted, and I'm sure we'll touch on this, but he's conflicted too, like with how he relates to the brothers.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, absolutely.
Whether he's going to be the hammer or the parachute. Yes.
Yes.
hmm
Yeah, that's and just great line on that one too.
Yeah.
That was yeah, he was just such a perfect. I don't think anybody else could have made that role be as good as it was. Because you know, I mean, you watch the second movie and they have somebody else playing that role and it doesn't work at all.
Oh, see, it worked for me
Real that
in a
overly
whole
Southern
new
accent.
way, but it worked.
Well, let's talk. Okay, so the second movie took 12 years to be made, or 20 years, something like that. It took a long time because mostly Troy Duffy is pissed off all of Hollywood.
Everyone.
Everyone. If you ever get the chance, it's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. A documentary called Overnight,
Yes.
and it will make you either love or hate Troy Duffy depending on your point of view. Very interesting guy. But however, one of the reasons why he got run out of Hollywood, which I think is interesting, which should have made him a hero by today's standards, is he turned down the Weinsteins.
No, he didn't turn down the Weinstein.
Or no,
No,
Weinstein wanted
Harvey
to add stuff, and he said
Harvey
no.
Harvey Weinstein was ready to give him $15 million to make the movie. He took it, he screwed up, and he got dropped by the Weinsteins, and he got dropped by his agent.
Mhm.
And then he finally the company that did produce it came back and gave him $7 million to make the movie. So no, it's not a case of getting taken out. It's because he was such a jerk.
He started out
Everything
started
that
out
he did.
bad.
Yeah, that Hollywood just went, you know what? You are too much of a drama princess. I'm done.
His personality wasn't someone that you give all this to at his age, and I don't think he could handle it. It was a lot real fast for him.
Agreed.
We all know somebody like him.
Well, he started out to be a rock star. Like that was his goal. And he became a screenwriter, and he's still trying to have that rock star persona, which doesn't work.
Now, I want to bring that up on that. Kind of an interesting. Him and his band did all the music for Boondock Saints. Now, Boondock Saints, the soundtrack is fantastic. The distribution sucks because you can't even get most of the songs on Spotify at this point. Again, he burned a lot of bridges. But that, like the song when Rocco goes in and goes nuts in the cafe.
Yes,
that song is so cool. It's like, why didn't he
play it for us, Dub?
This? Huh?
I love
Play it for us.
It goes a little.
I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, again, please don't sue us.
I love the opening one because it fits so perfectly with that aerial shot of Boston.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as the guys are going to work, and I dig it. Or coming off work.
We will hit that in just a second because that's kind of we're going to be kind of going through the movie itself. But yeah, that was fantastic, and I'll just leave it there because I want to get back to that in a minute.
Also, Dub, before we wind up today, I have a trivia point, but it can wait till later in the show.
Okay, we'll hit it. Okay, so let's talk about who I think was the real hero of the show, Rocco. Such a great character, and he wasn't one of the brothers. He was us. He's the outside looking in. There's things I don't understand about his character, but he was such a fun character.
He was a nut.
Hero?
Huh?
Yeah,
I think he was a hero.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't really like Rocco.
I think he was a little self-serving.
Nobody liked Rocco.
Yeah,
but that's what made him such a good character.
He's not really my favorite character either.
He's like just the cringiest to me. Like,
I was doing fine with him until the cat.
that was the start of it. Yeah.
God bless it, man.
Now, something I want to talk about with Rocco. The first movie, he goes and he meets with the boss and he tells an incredibly racist joke. Why did that joke landed in so many ways? Now, on the second movie, they did the same thing and it didn't land at all. And I'll tell you the difference is, and this is the way that that David Prestio, whatever his name is, originally played it, was when he told that joke, he was uncomfortable the whole time telling that joke. He did not want to tell it. The second movie is like, hey, I'm telling a racist joke because it's funny. And it landed so much better that first movie than the second movie when they tried to do the same thing.
Because of his unsurety?
Because he was so uncomfortable telling it. And not just because it was the boss, that he didn't want to say the N-word and all that. And then it was like, I'm very uncomfortable doing this. And it showed. And I think that's why that worked.
And funny enough,
I
the
can see
guy
that.
the character Rocco, his actual name is David Della
Yeah,
Rocco.
Del Rocco, yeah. I think he's
yeah.
a producer of the movie or something. He's still involved with the franchise up to this point.
From what I hear, they
Like
just
the
told
third
him to
one.
be himself too. I mean, that's him.
Yeah.
He's not playing too much of a character there.
Which was,
Good
I say
Lord.
he was. I don't want to be his friend, but I personally
Right.
loved his character. He was fun.
I think the character itself is played very well. But now knowing that that's just who he is, it almost makes it more cringy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know,
huh.
like there's stuff in that movie, and I get it. It's a movie, and it's pretend,
like
and it's supposed to be,
The
edgy and
a-hole
all.
is strong in this one.
Yeah, there's stuff I just can't get on board with when it comes to him.
That's fine, but this is one of those movies you have to put your politics at the door.
It's not even politics. It's not even
No.
Your
politics. I think
religion.
it's
Or if
morality. Yeah, I think I know
Yeah.
there's probably no place for that in this movie, even though it's kind of,
There is a morality in this movie.
Well, that's what the movie
Yeah.
does, make you question morality.
Yeah.
yeah, there's like a line. It's very
Yeah.
blurred and
Well, actually, that leads us into the listener feedback that we were supposed to do, and we didn't do it. Let's see, and I'll read it word for word. Based on the universal idea of what's right and wrong, do the McManus brothers use vigilante justice? Is it justified or not? Why? And this is for everybody.
That's a loaded question.
That is a huge.
I know.
It's important. Let's start with actually Michelle on this one because she had time to think about it.
a lot of time. Okay, so vigilante. I think there's a place for vigilante justice, like to an extent. I think as humans, we kind of gravitate toward it. And what I kept thinking of was like the Punisher, or we're all into these comic book superheroes. If there's like the hero, and maybe the police don't always get the job done, or they don't trust
Or
them,
ever, yeah.
well, I'm trying not to.
Sorry,
I'm trying
not
not
doing it,
to.
not doing it. Okay. We're being good. Okay.
We're being good. I know. Okay, focus. So no, I think that's what people gravitated towards, especially with this movie. It was that concept, and but I don't know. For me, I'm kind of torn. Like I get it. I understand sometimes you have to take things into your own hands, and we see that throughout history. We've seen it very recently, but I don't know. There's a weird fine line there. And I think
Yeah.
in this movie, there are a couple moments where they step over that line, where it's
Mhm.
not vigilante justice anymore. So where do you stop? And I think a lot of our other movies, like, kind of happens in those movies as well.
Yeah. Christina?
I think we've all had a moment where we would have liked to have been the Boondock Saints, whether it's somebody that we love has been hurt, or we've seen something that has been terrible. And I think that's why they get away with it. Do I think they take it too far? Yeah, I do. But have I personally had those moments where I wish I could have reacted that way? Abso-freaking-lutely. We're human. We're designed to say that's not right. And for me, it's not so much the police, it's the justice system. Like, people, where the guy is just like, I'll be right back out. It's not that big a deal. So yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Todd?
Well,
I love how you're measuring every word you're saying right now.
You
I got to be
have
careful
to.
here because this could be evidentiary at a later time. So, Wendell and I work in the world of security, where we carry a badge and a gun. That's what we do for the preponderance of our living. the longer you work in something like that, the longer you understand the point that there are people out there that need killing. That is a moral decision, of course, and keeping your head about yourself is a great way to keep other people who need killing alive. So I understand the conflict that the McManus brothers are having, because they're not particularly bright individuals. They're very cunning. They're very cunning, animal cunning. I wouldn't call them Mensa members, though.
How many languages do you speak? Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, this is a moral play. The whole thing is scene after scene after scene of moral dilemmas that have to be taken on right now, or else.
Mm-hmm.
Even Willem Dafoe's character, every scene he's in, he's wrestling with a moral dilemma. Should he bag these bad guys, or should he just let them keep killing the bad
Because
guys?
they're
That
good
makes
guys.
And
makes the
join
cops'
them.
jobs easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he has the continuing, he's being crapped on by all the rest of the cops who aren't followers of his personal lifestyle choice. So yeah, it's a conflicting movie, because you've got good, you've got evil, life and death, man.
Yeah.
And it's constant. The entire movie is nothing but that decision. So it's an interesting philosophical viewpoint into
I
what
love how
can
you
be
went through
done.
all of that and did not answer a thing on it. Tyler, what about you, bud?
Very politician
Well,
answer.
It's a age-old question ever since, Batman and stories alike come out. I mean, you kind of have to think about rehabilitation. I mean, do you believe in that? Are there people who are beyond rehabilitation? I believe so. But, would you be willing to turn your head and just let these two guys go about the city doing their thing? It's right. Um, that's why I don't think you'll ever get a solid answer to this question, because your
At least not for
morals
me.
won't match with the next person's.
Yeah.
If you truly believe in due process and rehabilitation, then yeah, you wouldn't vibe with what they're doing. But if you're a New York City cop and you have to do less paperwork, you can turn your head because your moral compass is a little
There's
different
just
than
so
mine.
much gray.
You'd be fine with it.
Nice.
And that's why I can't say yes or no whether they're justified, but I do believe in due process and rehabilitation. But if you are truly evil, there is no rehabilitation. So I'd have to be one of those friends in the end of the movie arguing back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it is a long
even
debate.
even with yourself, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Courtney?
Rehabilitation via lead. I like it.
I think they think they're justified in what they do. I mean, there's kind of like, in terms of the films, there's a couple of things going on. One, there is the Catholicism angle, because they think what they are doing is what God has deemed that they should do. And they're
Mhm.
only going after who they deem are bad people, and they know who have hurt people, and the police have not been able to do anything about it. So they see themselves as the swords of God to take care of this problem. But that's where you run into the age-old problem with vigilante justice, is who made you the
Mhm.
one to decide who is bad and who is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, who made you
And
the
the other
judge?
thing, and the other thing is we tend in this country, in the media and in literature and films and all sorts of stuff, we kind of glamorize the mafia to the point where we don't look at them as heroes. We know they're bad guys, but we don't really go, oh, well, we haven't seen them do this stuff, so it's not really that nice. They're terrible human beings.
Everybody in Vegas wishes the mob would come back. That's the example. Yeah.
But we know that they were terrible human beings and they were awful, but the city was better when they were here. But that's okay. That's neither here nor there. They still kill people a lot, and they exploit people, and they pass frogs, and they do all that kind of terrible stuff. So, I mean, every person that they kill does terrible things, like really awful things, but we don't see any of those awful things. We just hear about it. So again, that loops us back to who made them judge and who made them the judge of what's good and what's bad. And that's always the problem you get with the subjective nature of vigilante justice, even with the Punisher, as Michelle brought up, who gets to decide who's good and who's bad? So
Well, it's just that it goes back to that question of morality, and I think everybody has a slightly different way of looking at it. It just really depends on you, and it depends on the situation. And so, I don't think
Depends
there's
on
a
who's
clear.
holding the gun.
I mean, it
it's
does.
satisfying when Connor and Murph kill the Russian guys that we know. You know, it's satisfying when they kill those mafia guys in the Russian mafia guys, and when they kill whatever Ron Jeremy's Vincenzo.
My favorite character.
It's solely satisfying, but we know deep down in our hearts they really shouldn't be doing that. But it's satisfying at the same time.
That first kill with the Russian guys.
Yeah.
What a comedy of errors. If you're gonna kill somebody, kill somebody. Don't
drop a toilet on them.
Right.
Well, I something I've noticed about this movie, in the beginning of it, everybody they kill is definitely, without question, bad people that should not be on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Now, where I have no moral issue with anything they do until they get to the strip club scene, because then they killed the Ron Jeremy character. He's a bad guy. Okay, not as bad as the other guys, perhaps, but a bad guy, probably beyond.
He was a POS, man.
He was pretty high up in.
But wait. And then they lowered their standards all of a sudden, and then the other two people they shot, they were just patrons.
Well, and they allowed Rocco to do that, and that's one of those issues that I had with Rocco, because that was him just wanting to kill.
Yeah.
But Willem Dafoe's character does say that they are mob guys, but it sounds to me like they're bagmen.
Yeah.
That they're not real high up. They're just foot soldiers in the mob. So they are technically bad guys who,
but they're not
bagmen
the bad guys.
But they're not. They
And
probably haven't done anything terrible yet. Maybe
that was my main problem with Rocco too.
Yeah,
no morality.
But that's where my issue with everything goes off. And they wanted that to happen as far as the question being asked, because it's easy when they're all bad guys, when there's no way you can say this person is garbage. The world would be better without them. That's easy because every one of those, and then it's just two guys.
But when they let Rocco do that in the strip club, the McManus brothers all of a sudden seem to be really moral characters in comparison to Rocco.
Yeah.
Because he's just spraying the place.
He goes off the rails, though. I mean, he kind of just gets all into it and goes off the rails and does some other questionable things. But
I guess Ammo was easier
that's
to
the one we have
then.
to stay away from, ironically.
I know. I'm trying really hard.
So
I guess Ammo was easier to get back then.
I guess.
Yeah.
But that's definitely where the issue is on the vigilante justice is. If it's just the bad of the bad, that's fine. Everybody's for that. It's we can lower our standards a little bit. Then that's when it got to be evil.
And how do you rein that in when they overstep their bounds? There's no accountability.
People get excited.
We're playing vigilante limbo. The bar keeps just getting lower and they keep crawling under it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you see that with humanity anyway. Like, we tend to have this one spot where we're at, and then it's like, you kind of push.
That's called the big line. Yeah.
Yeah, you cross that line, and then it's
the
like,
Overton window.
Yeah, you're not really
different.
You're not really a hero right now. You're kind of just a murderer. So it's like, take it back a little bit.
But at that point, I'm like, well, then why aren't they killing you? Because you're the bad guy at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's an important question. That's really what they and if it wasn't for this scene, this movie would not have had the impact. Because I mean, if you're just killing the bad of the bad, who cares?
It reestablishes their moral compass.
This is why I can love Punisher, because he's always just kills the bad of the bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, even the El Duce character, you know, he'll kill anybody. He just won't kill women and children. So he definitely has that moral somewhere in there.
His limbo bar might be lying on the ground, but
It's still there.
At least he has a line, I guess.
Well, I was okay with Ron Jeremy's character leaving, and I can guarantee you that is not acting. That is his character, because I met him once.
I've met him a few times. I've never had an issue with him, but
He just seems like a big goof.
oh,
me and a girlfriend got stuck in the elevator with him, and she is like,
how'd that smell?
She's like, he was at the Venetian for the AVN show, and she's like, "You're Ron Jeremy," and he's like, "Yeah, I am." And he just like, and we kind of left it at that, and he's like, "So, have you seen any of my movies?"
Oh, gross.
This is definitely not a family-friendly episode.
And she's like, "Well, I saw you on VH1 Surreal," and I was like, "I saw you in the Boondock Saints." And he was like, yeah, that was me. I was branching out. And I was like, you were branching out. You played the smarmiest character who got shot while being with strippers. Like, how's that a
At least
stretch?
he kept his pants on.
Yeah, that was toned down.
We were all grateful for that.
Yeah.
But actors are actors, and sometimes they suck, and sometimes they're cool. Anyway, so let's jump. Actually, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to call this next section our main event.
Now it's time for the main event.
Okay, so for this version of the main event, we are just going to be discussing the movie. Instead of doing a top 10 list or top 5 list or whatever, there's so many scenes in this movie that we could do anyway. We'll just kind of hit them as we go. Because, yeah, no matter what kind of negatives we can say about this movie, we all end up loving it for whatever reason. Or love it first and then hate it with some people. So, yeah.
Feel attacked.
Get over it.
Personally threatened by that comment.
let's start with the first scene, which I thought was a gutsy scene to start it in the church. That could have gone so wrong in so many ways. And my first thought when I'm watching this movie, because you'll notice that they walk up and they do their thing and then they walk out. And my first thought is, are these guys like, you know, the sword of God? Are these guys like angels or something? Because no one's responding to them at all. Like,
yeah.
And I thought that would have been an interesting way to take it. And I don't know if maybe that could have been in the back of his head as he was writing this. But yeah, I think that the story the priest told was absolutely that like sets the tone for everything. And again, that's a gutsy move, because to start a film like this in church, you're definitely going to hit some blowback.
They had to establish the bedrock of the boys' character.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they got their moral compass from, is the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has not always been the touchy-feely friendly place that it is now. You know, they didn't always have the Buddy Christ statue out front.
Yeah.
There's so many things I'm not saying right now, and I want to.
And another important thing to remember is the boys are Irish Catholic. They're not Roman Catholic. They're Irish Catholic. The Irish believe it's the same religion, but their faith is so strong because of St. Patrick and all that kind of stuff that they classify themselves as Irish Catholic. So it's an even deeper tie to God. This is an Irish Catholic neighborhood. Them walking up there to kiss the feet of Jesus and then walk out wouldn't be noticed, because it probably happens a lot.
Total background noise, because everybody does it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's important. Not only is it Catholicism as the backbone, but you have to remember it's Irish they're Irish Catholic, which is a very the tie and the belief system is, I don't want to say stronger than Roman Catholics,
It's different.
Yeah,
it's
I
very
mean,
different.
It's
but
more
it is
passionate,
very
definitely.
different. It is
But-
I'm
very
sure they do believe they are the sword of God, though. I mean, that's pretty
I think that
evident
they
throughout the
definitely do.
movie.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
yeah, especially after
Definitely wanted
the
to-
visions and all that.
Yeah,
That's kind of
That
how
weird baptism.
yeah, like I think in
Mhm.
their mind that's exactly what's going on.
Well,
Fun fact about that story
go ahead.
is that story is actually why Duffy wrote Boondock Saints, because he had come home from work one day and the police and everything were at the neighbors because a hooker had been killed in the middle of the day. And that actually is what inspired him to write the whole screenplay.
And honestly, he has a point that the worst thing that happens is when good men do nothing. That's the biggest sin. You know, so again, this is the moral quandary of this.
Well, apparently that story, because that actually
It was a
happened.
true story. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently there was some question whether or not that actually was the situation, that nobody did anything. I don't know.
Could be folklore, could be.
Yeah, what I had heard was similar to what Christina said, but not that the police were there. That he came home and he saw saw a landlord dragging the body of the dead hooker out of one of the apartments.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a wives' tale. Maybe Christina's is correct. I don't know.
I heard something completely different.
Well,
I heard he saw two gangsters pickpocketing a dead guy in the alley. So,
and to be fair, with as far as Duffy goes, I don't really believe a lot that comes out of his mouth. He just has that kind of bravado.
uh-huh.
Well,
As
that
I
makes
say,
it
we
easy.
all know a guy like that in our lives somewhere. He's talented, but definitely I think his mouth cashes a lot of checks that he shouldn't be. Writes a lot of checks he can't cash. I think that's the right word I'm looking for. Okay, so let's move on from the church scene, and we have the intro, like with what Courtney was talking about, with that fantastic swooping shot of the city, which could not have been a cheap shot, by the way.
Yeah, they didn't have drones back then. That had to be a helicopter, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that couldn't have been
Mhm.
cheap. But with the music and everything else was absolutely perfect. And then I love the if you pop culture people, the football coach from Glee was the woman that beats up the Norman Reedus character,
Oh, okay.
which I thought, yep, that's the one with when they're discussing the rule of thumb.
And the story
Mhm.
for the rule of thumb in the movie is actually an old wives' tale. That's
That's
right.
not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that wasn't, but
But it makes for a fun scene.
it does. I say you can't pick this apart too much because this whole thing is built on old wives' tales, I guess.
It really
It's
is.
shot from the hip, actually.
So yeah,
I mean, it doesn't. It's not linearly correct.
yeah,
You know, so it's. I mean, that's half of the love affair with this film, is that it's so different. It's not your run of the mill movie that, you know, A and then B and then C. It's all over the place.
yeah. Well, you know, let's hit that with the jump editing. Usually that does not work in a movie, and I hate it. This time it worked.
Oh, like a charm.
And they didn't do the just okay, it happens, and then we're gonna jump back right away and find out what happens. They wait 2 or 3 scenes to jump back and let
Yeah.
you. It again, gutsy
Builds the
choice.
anticipation. Yeah.
It was a gutsy choice, but it works so well. And I love that in the jump scenes, you don't know how much of it is what really happened or is how much of it is the story they're telling you happened.
And there's
Yes.
also scenes which are nothing more than supposition from the detective.
Mm-hmm. Because you
Straight out guesses.
yeah, and I and they don't let you know which one's gonna be which.
Exactly.
It's a gutsy choice. But yeah, and I we've seen this not work a million times in movies. For some reason it worked on this one. Why did it work on this one?
Because it's
Because
delightful.
of the seriousness. Yes. Because of the seriousness of the point of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a little bit of free hand, you know, in the filming of it, or else it'll get too bogged down and people will get bummed out and they won't watch the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think it's also the way they put the comedy in there, like their first kill, and how William Dafoe's character quickly figures out that it was this big mistake, And so when you get that jump back where they're hanging from the ceiling with that rope that he so desperately wanted, it's so funny that you don't mind it because it's just a brilliantly, delightfully comedic scene in spite of the seriousness. And I think that they mix that very well.
Two characters I want to hit on real quick is the bartender with Tourette's. I love that's you can't say anything that he says in this entire movie, but
no, you can't.
But again, brilliantly put piece of comedy that raised it up a bit so it's not so.
He's actually I think my favorite character in this movie. I mean, because he's totally believable too. Like I could just see him, and
thinking. You could almost picture him there.
Yeah. And what I love about him too is that the actor is the same guy who was also Doc in Fraggle Rock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with his dog Sprocket. Yeah, and it's so funny, like, because I love Fraggle Rock, and then like to have him as this character who's like, up a storm, and but no, I thought he was.
I want to see him cussing on Fraggle Rock.
On Fraggle Rock. Welcome to Fraggle Rock, babe.
That would be.
I'm waiting for somebody to do a crossover edit with that. That would be so much fun.
Hilarious.
Oh, can somebody make that happen? What if our listeners can we make that happen? Please,
I'll bet Blythe could do it.
Okay, and then the other character I want to talk about is the far-fetched detective who comes up with the worst
Oh my god!
ideas. It's a giant crusher. You hear?
The giant guy. It's just a giant guy. You sat on him, and I mean, like he just
forget about those guys. This is the bad guy.
He keeps going. Like every time he's like, no, they're not going to turn themselves in. They're going to be scared. You don't know. And then like walk. He's so bad at his job. It's like, how did you make detective in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Because
they
eventually
turn him into the coffee fetcher. So
right.
Yeah, I mean that's like best.
I'm not getting this bagel. I'm not getting this bagel.
He tried so hard.
Like I use that line for people all the time, just because I feel like
that's like the turn of the century. Give him a wooden gun kind of. Part,
right.
You know?
Like, how did you become a detective?
But I love him so much. Like I love that bumbling character. Like he's just amazingly wrong all the time. But
except
he never
when he
gives
wasn't.
up.
Except when he wasn't, and then he was berated for being right.
What about the one cop, the Greek cop in the what is the symbology? What did he say? What is the symbology?
Symbolism.
That's what I love too, is how Willem Dafoe's character is just like right there with the comebacks. Like
you guys make me
well,
feel
they
like
helped
River
set him up.
I mean, he's got great
yes,
a giant guy.
But this is the conversation we would have on the show.
Friggin' guy.
Friggin' guy.
The friggin' guy.
I'm doing the rest of the podcast in the Boston accent.
Courtney, what you said about the line with the river dance, and then he actually river dances. Oh, I lost it. Every time I lose it, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's redeeming qualities. Okay, I admit.
Okay, so we've talked about the Willem Dafoe character. I want to hit a little bit more on how beautiful all of his jump back editing is.
His mental theories.
Yeah, and even when he's solving the crime, it is like
it's glorious.
It's like watching modern dance. It is just good modern dance because there's a lot of
he's always got classical music running through his head, and that's the background music for all these mental theories that he's remembering or envisioning.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're beautiful scenes.
Did you guys I don't know if everybody watched the series Hannibal, but the character Will Graham, it's the same sort of like process that he goes through. It's like that cool mental, like I'm gonna go off into this zone and I'm gonna figure out everything that happened, and not so that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, it does definitely.
Maybe they got that from Boondock Saints.
Hey, probably did.
Possible.
It's old.
My wife kept saying it reminded her of the Joker in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's really
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to process that for a second. That's actually.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Huh?
Are you processing it with classical music?
No,
Yes.
I'm actually I'm going for with the second movie, and I'm listening to Motorin.
Oh.
In the second movie, they have that same detective, and he's trying to be Smecker. So he puts on the headphones, trying to figure out the case, and he puts on Motorin. So instead of classical music, and it is.
Wah, wah, wah.
And he's singing to it.
And
They're
now it's
not
in our
back.
heads
I'll tell you what,
forever.
they're not back. Okay. Yeah,
The giant frigging guy.
yeah.
Are you going to talk about the tattoos?
Okay. Love the tattoos. I wanted to get the Veritas Acutas for a long time. I'm glad I didn't because
I
won't get one.
have literally never met a guy who has watched this movie who hasn't said, when I first watched the movie, I wanted to get those tattoos.
Now,
Or they wanted to get the
the cross.
Celtic cross
I
on the
have
forearm.
one. Yeah, I have one on the back. Not because of this movie, because I'm Irish.
Sure, Dub.
Yeah. You're
yeah.
Irish, you get a pass for that.
I get a pass on that.
Right.
It works. No, with the tattoos though, when you watch it on the Blu-ray, unfortunately, you see that the hand tattoos are literally done in blue ink.
Yeah,
It's rough.
It's like, oh man.
I bumped into that a couple times.
This
The
is
tattoos
yeah.
didn't bother me. It was the blood. Because a lot of the blood you can tell is not proper stage blood. Like it
was
the
cornstarch.
first moment you see like all the blood on Sean Patrick Flannery's face, where he's trying to pull the toilet up because they're gonna go kill his brother. It is so bright red. It's like, did you literally use ketchup? Because that's not what blood looks like.
Yeah, well, it looks like the Kool-Aid before it's watered down. So it's the concentrate and it's just thick and gross.
Yeah. The side effects girl in me went, ooh, not buying that today because I rewatched it last night.
But ironically,
They were on a shoestring budget. Come on.
yeah, they were.
It's $7 million.
Spent half
Todd.
their budget on that
That's
intro
nothing
shot.
for a movie.
$7
They
million.
did.
Yeah, that's right. They spent $6
But when
million
you
on
first
the
watched this
helicopter.
movie, nobody noticed any of this stuff. This is all on the rewatches. When I first watched this movie, I didn't notice any of the poor acting or the cheeseball gangsters. Why are they just standing there and he's randomly yelling stuff and then stopping and then starting? None of this
I
stuff.
have issues with the toilet scene.
I love the toilet scene. Don't.
That's the
ruin it.
strangest thing
but
I've
I
ever
have
heard you say.
In this entire film, that is the moment where my suspension of disbelief goes, no ma'am. No ma'am. I can totally buy that they come through the ceiling and they spin around and they shoot everybody. I can totally buy that. It's when
But
he tries
the toilet
to
broke
the
it for you.
toilet and then he walks up, like, no ma'am. No ma'am, Pam. Can't handle it.
Honestly, for me, that moment was like the epitome of just high drama, and he was
And the adrenaline rush.
trying to save his brother, and you know,
Yeah.
I bought into it 100%.
I've seen enough HGTV to know that you can't lift a toilet that easily.
Thank you. I don't care how much adrenaline is going with you.
Did you see how everything was put together in that apartment? I can believe that was a two-piece toilet.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't high quality bolted down to the cement.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Before he dumps it off the side of the building, you can see that the entire thing has been hollowed out.
Yeah,
because he pulled off the top.
See
It was split in
straight
two.
through the bottom.
I'm buying it. I'm buying it because that's how he
No,
got it
ma'am,
off.
can't
Yep.
do
Yep. Do not ruin my toilet scene.
No, man.
no, it's been ruined. It's been ruined.
No,
Well, let's not talk
over.
about the 4-story fall he took too.
I know.
Hey,
And
there's that.
survived.
Yes, I'm Superman.
You
I'm
gotta
good. Let's
stop
go.
ruining my movie.
Courtney,
Break all my limbs.
has it always bothered you, Courtney, or is it just watching it in the HD that bothers you?
The toilet scene has always bothered me. Like from the very first rewatch, which is like I said, which is a really big deal because which is strange for me because I'm totally on board when they crash through the ceiling, and I'm totally on board when they're blowing everybody's faces off in the strip club and nobody sees them. I'm totally on board when it's a fight when El Duce shows up. I'm like, yeah, I can buy
Greatest
all of
line
this,
of the movie.
but no, throw a toilet
know.
over the side of the building, and I'm like, no.
So
Can't
I'm
do
a,
it.
I'm a property manager, and I've actually had to lift toilet seats in an emergency situation. Now, I can't tell you that I can pick it up and carry it and throw it off a building,
Right.
but
That's how guys feel. That's why we don't want to lift the toilet seat. Sorry, go ahead.
it's disgusting.
Oh.
But I have had to, like, and I had the benefit of throwing this stuff in that makes it like, I don't know, it's like kitty litter. It sucks all
Todd's
the water
broken.
up. But
Todd's
I break
completely
Todd?
broken.
Brr.
Todd needs a moment.
So in Christina's professional opinion, see, now we
You
have a
totally threw a
professional.
It is
Now we have a
slightly
professional dub.
possible.
It's over. Yeah.
We have
No, it's-
completely
Oh.
just slipped off the rails, and it's my fault. You're all welcome.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
all Courtney's fault. But no,
Subject.
in all seriousness, my maintenance guy does haul them up and down stairs. So it is possible. Like in all, it is.
So how do you guys feel about Billy Connolly in this?
I love him
bizarre
so
role?
much.
I would
I
not have put him
literally
there. He's a comedian.
Oh,
I saw him do Head of the Class before this. So
That
it
was the first thing and only thing I had seen him in. So when he comes out, they bring him out as El Duce in the jail. I was like, well, what now?
is he gonna go help Arvid? Is that what he's doing?
Like, wait a minute. That no. And then he starts killing people. I'm like, all right, I'm okay.
But he was
Okay.
a believable killer.
Mhm.
It works.
I
The
think I
only
can say about the part he
non-believable
played
part
in
is the
this.
fact that the Italian mob would hire an Irishman to do their killing.
That's a question, yeah. But they explained it in the second movie. So
But
go
the,
watch.
The character he played, I thought, and sorry for the phrasing on this because it actually worked, but I thought he killed it. I mean, really.
Wah, wah.
I know, right?
He was thinking about that one for a minute too.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean,
I'll set him up.
that
Todd.
comes
You
at the
can
end of
knock
the
him down.
movie. But the twist that comes at the end of the movie,
yes,
Yeah.
yes, so
he
good.
knocked that out of the park.
And did anybody see that coming?
No,
No,
no.
no.
And I think that was such a good ending. It really was. For where the movie went, that was a brilliant move.
It was
Now-
very
About the-
gratifying at the very end.
The
The
court
courtroom
scene is
scene?
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That was gratifying as all get out.
But do you feel
Mhm.
it? I kind of feel like it was like it was very over.
Forced?
I mean, the movie's overly dramatic and all that. But I think that like I just felt like it was really forced when they're doing the speech to everybody, and he's I don't know.
Michelle, you're talking about forced drama from Irish Catholics.
This is true. I don't know what's
Not
wrong
a
with
big
me.
stretch.
Sorry.
It's
Not
like
a big
Sunday
stretch.
dinner.
I'm Mexican. We don't. I don't know.
I
Half,
think
clearly,
I
we
think
have
it's
We don't do
also-
drama.
What?
I think it's also a
I've seen
pivotal
telenovelas.
moment.
I think you're lying.
I think it's a pivotal moment too, where they kind of return back to what they started with, because they say, "Watch yourself. We're watching you," and they
Yeah.
take out the biggest, baddest bad guy, and then if you watch the second movie, they go to Ireland.
They left. Yeah.
They left.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
just that moment where they were going back to their original mission per se. This is, and I like the warning, because
It's-
y'all better watch yourself.
It's
I
almost
wish
like
it would have been done a little differently, I guess.
it's almost like
It's-
bookending the film, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because you
Just like
start
Santa
off
Claus, but
with-
with a gun.
He sees
Wow.
you when you're
Start off in-
sleeping.
It's like 7-Eleven. They're
it's
not
like
always
what
doing business, but they're
Christina
always there.
says. Yeah, it's like what Christina said is that they're getting back to what they started with. So yeah, it's like bookending the film, because you start with them, kissing the feet of God and kind of telling the audience that they're going to be the sword of God throughout this
Mhm.
film. They lose their path a little bit along the way, but by the time we get back to the courtroom scene, they're back. And I mean, this is all from their perspective, of course,
Yeah.
but they're back to being the sword of God, and that's what their righteous role in this whole thing was supposed to be. So it's kind of like a book ending the scenes,
Now,
Yeah.
in my
I
opinion.
have one final question for you, and this is going to be, I'm going to have to, I want to word this carefully, but
Easy now.
taking your religious beliefs out, in the world of Boondock Saints, in the world of this movie, were they actually called upon by God to do this, or are they nuts?
Well,
nuts.
it's hard to portray, honestly, because they both have the exact same dream,
That's so
And-
I
and-
don't know. Maybe they were having visions.
right? And also, a side point, ironically, Rocco was the one that took them off their righteous path, I feel like, but it was his death that put him back on their righteous path.
Mhm.
Actually, I think that they're nuts on a God trip.
Fair enough.
I kind of
I
got the
agree.
impression they were supposed to be, they did have the hand of God on them throughout the movie. The Russians come in to get them in their little, whatever warehouse apartment.
Yeah.
And you see the necklaces moving, but they only move kind of in one direction. And that's all this little things, the weird dream that they both
Yeah.
had at the exact same time. I
I
kind of
mean,
got the
either
impression
that or
throughout the
they're
movie is supposed to be.
Incredibly lucky.
So I guess
Yeah, that
that's
too.
why, yeah, that concept reminds me of just kind of like the typical superhero backstory, like something like that crazy happens, and they have, whether it's a magical power or something like that. I mean, I could
Yeah,
see if that's
They
what
didn't
they
even
were.
have their parents killed in an alley.
I know.
No, their dad just left.
And
Ow.
then
He had to go
Rocco
be a hitman for the mob.
takes them off their path. They
Yeah.
they each catch a bullet. That one raid that they did at the house, they each got one, in a specific spot or whatever. It was kind of a, maybe
Yeah.
that was God.
Very
warning them,
religious
you know.
overtones to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's inside. Yeah.
Courtney?
I find it difficult to separate myself with my religious beliefs from this because I'm not so much. I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, but I was a very devout Catholic for a very long time. And when I saw this movie, I was a very devout Catholic. So some of that initial feeling kind of carries on. So I find it hard but I mean, I always have that skeptical side of when people say they're like possessed by demons or if they hear voices or their visions. Who am I to make that call? Because I don't know. You could be a nutball.
So you no longer eat the wafer, but you know all about guilt.
Careful.
Yes.
Careful.
It's the Sicilian.
Okay.
You can't ever get away when you're Sicilian.
Let me. I think that as far as the world of that Troy Duffy gave us, I think that they are totally the sword of God. I think they are.
I think they think
they're
are.
archangels. I think that's why they keep surviving.
You think, like Jake Blues says, they're on a mission from God?
I think they're totally on a mission
I
from
was just
God.
thinking that.
From
They
Gad.
saw that a little too much. Yeah, watch that one a little too.
We're on a mission from
time.
Gad.
Well, that's a show, guys. Yeah. Whew. So I hope we didn't offend everybody in our audience, but most.
Yeah.
We tried.
Well, we'll try harder next time.
Check out
Right.
our website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the com. We paid extra for it. I swear I cannot say that without saying that.
I know.
I try to.
But it's okay
It's
because we
fine.
do. So
Yeah, we do actually. Go to all our social media. Talk to us. We do talk back. Go to our Discord. Go to what else do we have?
Twitter.
Twitter,
YouTube,
Facebook,
Instagram.
Yeah, like everything that we put out because it helps
And
us.
share.
And share it. Be a share.
and comment.
And
Yes.
comment, please.
That helps.
And if you
And-
want all the
We'll
extra
talk
good
back.
stuff, check out our Patreon.
Yes, because we have a ton of extra
Nice
stuff
plug.
going on there every
Nice.
week.
Right
We're
on.
almost done with the Star Wars series, and then I'm not sure which series we're going to next, but I have some ideas, but I haven't discussed it, so I'm not allowed to say it out loud yet. But we have some really cool
and
stuff
our
coming up.
weekly Disney Plus shows will
Yep.
be heading into Falcon and Winter Soldier pretty soon. So get ready, guys.
Yep. In fact, you can meet the panel for the Falcon and Winter Soldier this. Oh no, actually, it was last Sunday that you would have heard. So this coming Sunday, you guys get to see the first Falcon and Winter Soldier. So watch it and then watch us. Do not in that order. Do not watch us before because we spoiler the heck out of everything. And until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here with Michelle and Courtney and Todd and Miss Cheeky Chi and Tyler and Keep On Geeking On, guys.
Yeah.
Booyah.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.